Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, or good evening. Today's topic, I want to talk about Orania, the project Orania. Orania in South Africa, it's a town or a place or a city or whatever the fuck it is, but it's in South Africa. And they say this place is reserved only for the Afrikaners. It's reserved only for the Afrikaners. Sometimes the Afrikaners are also described as Westerners, but I'm not sure the definition of what does it take to become an Afrikaner. Or if you're an Afrikaner, I don't know. I didn't even bother to check what is an Afrikaner. But I'm interested to talk about this project because this place is only reserved for those who identify as Afrikaner or who pass the qualities of being called an Afrikaner. Okay. The thing is this. I have a problem about Orania because Orania itself, I think, for our future as South Africa is not in line with our future as in South Africa in terms of constitution and everything that as South Africa wishes to achieve. Orania does not be part of it. This place Orania is listed. Okay, it has got a title deed as a private property. Yeah, it's got a title deed as a private property. My problem with Orania is this first. In South Africa, we have a high number of employment people, especially amongst the black populations, in particular Africans. And the thing, this high number of unemployment, it is caused by government inefficiencies in terms of when the government invests in skills where they produce people that do not have the skills that match the current needs of the economy. And that's not the only factor that produced that. The other factor comes from the apartheid. I know I say, yeah, apartheid happened like 50 years ago, long time ago. But you can't say the same thing about Jews and say Holocaust happened. You can still get prosecuted for even talking like that about Holocaust. So why black South Africans shouldn't talk about apartheid, how it still affects their lives today? Because, for example, to know that apartheid still affects some people today, did not have their parents and they couldn't have access to resources and achieve their full potential. They're starting from stretch, starting from nothing. And then the project Orania, most of the time they say they bought that piece of land. Okay, fine, you bought. Did you get a loan from who? And most of the time you realize Orania, the money they used, the funds that were raised, if you read about it, the funds that were raised to buy Orania, that money was gained from the masters of apartheid, which means it came from the family members that engineered apartheid, which means that leads to this conclusion that all the money that was used at that time to buy Orania, I don't know if they bought it from who. Maybe to the ANC members or to the government. I don't know. But there's a rumor that they bought the land. And my thing is this. All those gains that they accumulated during apartheid, they used it to buy that land. All the gains that were accumulated during apartheid were used to buy that land. And for every president in South Africa, all previous presidents from South Africa, for example, starting with Nelson Mandela, Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki, I'm not sure about Kgalema Mokhane, they did visit Orania. And then they allow it to exist. I'm not saying it's wrong for it to exist. It can exist, but I'm worried about, does it align with what South Africans want? How do you know what South Africans want? We look at the constitution. One of the things that they violate, the first thing that they violate is jobs. I'm sure in Orania I've seen like photos of a school. You cannot, in South Africa, you cannot employ one race. You cannot employ, is not aligned with what our constitution says. For example, let's say, yeah, it's a private property. Okay, it's a private property. Every school in South Africa, like private school, are private properties, but they're not hiring strictly only, let me say, Afrikaners. They take from across the spectrum. They look at who's qualified, get this qualification. Let's hire this person. Let's bring him in. He get the job if he's got the skill. So in Orania, it has been allowed to only employ those who identify as Afrikaners or those whom they seem fit to qualify as Afrikaners. I have a problem with that. It will continue to manufacture people who are racist if we don't get rid of that. And my thing is this: since Jacob Zuma did visit Orania, and now he has formed MK. What are the MK members saying about Orania? Are they in favor of Orania? Do they support the existence of Orania or in the coexistence with South Africa, while it is clearly against the constitution? And the other thing is this: the Human Rights Commission of South Africa has never said anything about Orania, but Orania, it is in gross misvalue. It is in violation of our constitution, because all the ideals that are in the constitution, I'm sure Orania is going against them. If you don't believe, you can watch more videos about Orania, and then you'll understand why am I speaking like this. Yes, you may say, yeah, Boaz, because you're poor, I have this culture of building things. What the fuck? Building things from where? Why don't you go and build your thing shit, your little racist shit somewhere outside of South Africa? You go and buy the land, take a loan, or you raise your own funds, and then you acquire land there in Europe, where you'll have a place. Those who identify as Afrikaners can have their small piece of land, and then they want those who have a European DNA and sit there together. So I would like to know, MK, I know EFF how it feels about Orania, but MK party, I don't know how it feels about Orania, and then what is their plan with Orania. I don't know. You may say, yes, the ANC, they spend so much money, they pay tax. I don't know if these guys, they are truthfully paying tax in South Africa. I don't know if they are actually really contributing a fair amount of taxes, because they are not using a South African rand as a currency in Orania. They have something like called Ora or something like that. So if someone is using a different currency, is using it, or maybe you can call it a coupon or whatever you want to call it, but they're using, or you can even call it an Ora voucher. But if they're using something different, how can you calculate taxes on that? And SARS is quiet. It's asking about the taxes there in Orania. It's not asking. They're quiet about that. Who's gonna give us a full update? Imagine, let's say Orania expands and becomes as big as Israel. Then what are they gonna say to us? Middle finger, man. Fuck y'all, this land we bought it. Bought it from who? With what money? As far as I know, none of those masters of apartheid, they did not go and get international loans outside of South Africa and bring those loans and then build Orania. They took the inheritance of our hard-earned labor from our parents, and then they used that money and say we took gains from the apartheid, and then we established Orania. You say, yeah, Orania is self-sufficient. It was maintained by South African funds, and then those funds were gains from the apartheid. I don't have a problem for it to exist, but I do have a problem with that. Okay, now as South African, as a black South African, you cannot go in and walk in Orania. Because for them, they say they bought the land, it's a private land. But if a private land, every land, in fact, for example, to give you an example, a mall it could be private land owned by a few investors, but there are jobs there, and then those jobs are not only for those who identify as what. Anyone can apply for the job. Even us in Orania, we're supposed to be able to submit our applications where we see we want those jobs, and then it shouldn't be allowed. That's what that is where I call for Orania to be actually destroyed, because now we can no longer walk into in our lands of Africa. We can no longer walk there. We can't even submit a CV. I mean, like they say, they want someone whom they identify as an Afrikaner, not you yourself to identify as an Afrikaner. They say, no, I'm an Afrikaner. What is an Afrikaner? You speak Afrikaans, but I don't know what is an Afrikaner. They have to give us what is an Afrikaner. They want someone who speaks Afrikaans, or someone whose DNA is European and speaks Afrikaans, or is a Dutch descendant. It's a serious matter. We have to deal with that thing of Orania. I see many politicians, especially from the ANC, have gotten money from Orania. Okay, this one, it's something it's a claim that there's no evidence that ANC did get money from Orania. But my question is this: why is Orania still allowed to exist, though it is going against our constitution? An example that is going against our constitution is when it comes to employment industry. They only want to hire those who are white and who speak Afrikaans or who are Afrikaners. Why? In every piece of land that is private, if there's a job creation in that space, every South African should be eligible to work there and live. Or maybe not live, just to work. Why is it allowed Orania to only employ, to give employment opportunities to those who are white, or maybe who are Afrikaners? Why cannot every South African, when he's interested, to work there? What if there's a South African there? Or for example, if now I'm interested, I feel like, yeah, man, let me move into that place and try to find myself a job. Now I can't get a job in Orania because they will say you don't qualify as an Afrikaner. They have to give a proper definition. What is an Afrikaner? That's what the crime scene. And then Jacob Zuma was there. He spent most of his time, Jacob Zuma, in that piece of land. For 10 years, Jacob Zuma, he knew this thing exists, and he did nothing. So the MK members cannot come and tell us that we hate Orania. Besides hating the Orania, my worry is that for the future, Orania could become big as Israel and then declares independence from South Africa, even though our constitution says South Africa is indivisible. It's a unitary state, it's indivisible. You cannot divide this country. It's one thing. It's indivisible. There is no secession, there's nothing, it's just one thing. And then you tell me, now Orania gets a chance to expand, it becomes big as Israel, and then it starts to need more land. In fact, now I'm sure they're going to need more land to practice whatever they want they do there. I don't know if they teach their kids how to become racist, how to become conquerors, how to enslave. I don't know. But I think it is very important that we can discuss the future of Orania and our constitution in terms of employment. Why is the government allowing people to employ only those who are Afrikaners? We have a crisis. There are no jobs, there are few jobs in South Africa. I would like to work, even if I work with the Boers that hate me or Afrikaners that they hate me, but when we all here to make money on this earth. You like it or not, we are all here to make money. And if you don't make money, we all die. Orania is not aligned with our constitution. And then somehow the GNU is in favor of that. The ANC, the DA, they do support that. The MK party, I don't know the stance of MK, but Jacob Zuma, I know for 10 years he's never said anything about Orania, but he did visit Orania. And then I'm sure if he still supports Orania, why does he support Orania? Please guys, thank you for watching the video. Please support the channel. You can subscribe, share this video. I do read your comments. I want that engagement with you, with everyone. Maybe later we can even form our organization.